there are two things which are most closer and I'm passionate about. One is digital marketing and second is entrepreneurship. And I think today I can experience and taste both of them because the community at NEN primarily comprises of current and future entrepreneurs. It's always a pleasure sharing my experience, my learning with entrepreneurs. So thank you so much, guys, for being part of this. And as the name says, this session is about Twitter marketing, doing it right. And I'm assuming that most of you at least have an account on Twitter, and I'm sure some of you would be active as well. Just and I would encourage that while we are learning Twitter, and while we are going through a journey on Twitter, we should use it while this webinar is going on. So for those of you who understand what a hashtag is, for this session and probably for all of these sessions, future sessions as well, you can use #NENIndia as the hashtag. If you want to speak to NEN India on Twitter, then @NENIndia is their Twitter handle, and my Twitter handle is Pradeep Chopra, right? So I can see that there are already 40 people. So I think some people would join in. Let me quickly create the agenda for today's session. So we'll start with why anyone should care about Twitter. And in our experience over the last 4 years of doing various digital marketing trainings, and especially social media, Twitter has always been the most loved session of our workshops. One of the reasons is those who came there never thought that Twitter could be so powerful. So I think why is always important to touch. Then we will get into what of Twitter, especially at least some of the most fundamental functionality of Twitter. And then we'll talk about how to use Twitter, right? So we'll start with what objectives can you fulfill, then what Twitter comprises of and how can you do that, right? And of course, at the end we will have Q&A. As Sneha suggested, any question you have during the session, please feel free to post in the questions panel. I wish we could have done that on Twitter as well, but I don't have a dual screen. But I think on GoToMeeting webinar interface, we can do that, right? So let's look into a journey of Twitter, right? It started in 2006. It went live, and I think it is one of the fastest growing social media platforms. And there are various reasons why Twitter rose to the next level. One of the reasons was when Barack Obama joined Twitter in April 2007. Twitter got so much of media attention. Then Comcast completely turning around their customer service, customer satisfaction level using Twitter in 2008 was another turning point. Then Dell has been using Twitter for many years. They have more than 40 official Twitter accounts. And since people hunt for Dell's discounts, so Dell in their tweets have been using discount codes or links, which allows them to track if those tweets are leading to transactions. So in 2008, Dell reported that they generated $1 million revenue, and then $2 million, $3 million. I think they're no more. It's no more significant, but $1 million generated through Twitter was a big news in 2008. And there are similarly worldwide there are many more, like Ashton Kutcher beat CNN to get over 1 million followers. In India, I would say there are various kind of inflection points, and one of the major inflection points for social media, and particularly Twitter, was Mumbai blast. I think that was a time when media was not there, and all, including international media, got in touch with people who were on Twitter and who were in the vicinity of that space. I know a lot of people who were there who actively tweeted as long as 64 hours at stretch to help others during Bombay blast. So I think that was a major inflection point for Twitter in India. After that, Shashi Tharoor, Chetan Bhagat, and Amir Khan. So there are many, of course, now celebrities getting in, Anna Hazare, and so I think since then it's only growing. But that was a point when in India, an ordinary citizen itself started to pay attention to this media. So why care about Twitter? What all can you do? And let me do that by sharing some interesting examples of businesses both in India and globally, and some personal examples why Twitter is so powerful. I don't know how many of you know, this is a Kogi Korean BBQ taco truck. Looks all Greek, right? So this is a mobile van which goes to various locations in US, starting with Los Angeles. and it sells something like hot dog. And they had a very delicious product, but the real challenge for their customers was how to find out where the van would be in their location, or when the van would be in their location. So that was the challenge they had, and before that they initially used to get around 8 to 10 people who would come to a location, right? And they got bloggers who write about their product, they click pictures of the people who were coming there, and that's how it started, right? But when they solved this problem by integrating Twitter, as this session is about, Twitter is one of the best opportunities to solve such problem, that because if any one of their customers is following them, and when they tweet on real time, people get to know where they are and where they are going to be. And Twitter being so mobile friendly, it's the simplest among all. So they integrated Twitter and got the kind of results in terms of their business growth which is almost unimaginable. Just think for a few seconds in your mind, if 10 people were earlier coming, after they integrated Twitter, how much jump did a company like this could have got using Twitter? From 10 people coming to a location to buy their delicious products, it moved to 800 people coming to a location, especially after they integrated Twitter. So it's not a technology company, it's not an large company, but a very small non-technology company using Twitter for solving such real issue and having that level of business growth, right? So this is a very popular case study. If you search about this, all of these case studies, you will be able to find more details. But Twitter integration was a core of their success. Then this is another my personal interest, case study about using Twitter in a similar industry, but for a very interesting reason. I'm sure all of you would have experienced Domino's. Like when you call Domino's from your phone number, they would know your address and probably know your name as well. Then they will just ask you, what do you want to order? Similar to that, the system is built where people can order food from this food chain called Fasos on Twitter. So Fasos is into, again, wraps and curries, and they initially were in Pune, now in many locations, especially in Mumbai. A significant percentage of their business comes through home delivery. And a friend of ours who actually is one of the lead trainers at Distrividya actually built this system for them, which is tweet to order. So how it works is, once you are a customer to Fasos, along with your unique Twitter handle, like each one of us have a unique Twitter handle, they would register your phone number and address. So for example, if I am a customer to Fasos, along with my Twitter handle, they would have my address and my phone number. And then what do I need to do is, I will have to just tweet, say @Fasos 2 kebabs. That's it. Now, a system like this, though looks very cool and creative and innovative, offers many advantages. For a customer, it's cool, especially people who are on Twitter. Their world is Twitter. If you give them an opportunity to do anything on Twitter, they would just jump for it. So it's cool and convenient. People don't feel making phone call, but they are much more comfortable in tweeting around it. But the value for this organization, Fasos, is manifold. One is they don't need to have multiple phone lines, so they don't need to have even phone calls. They can take as many concurrent orders, and every order is a documented order. So it saves and solves a lot of customer relationship or ordering problems. The other bigger advantage is, when you are ordering from Fasos and when you are tweeting, a lot of your friends get to see your tweets. So that is, I think, a great word of mouth. Like any customer who is buying from you, he or she is letting his friends or her friends know that he bought from you, right? So that's a huge word of mouth marketing value for Fasos. So I think if you look at both of these examples, Twitter can solve a lot of real-time problems in a very, very interesting way. You would probably see my pop-ups on TweetDeck, which I'll talk about. So that's one tool which solves a lot of or makes your life very simple on Twitter. So let's look into other examples. So I'm sure you would have heard about a term called online reputation management. Today, given your customers are online, it is very important to manage your reputation online, because your customers would be praising or criticizing you online across all channels. So ORM, or online reputation management, is a very integral or very formal discipline in US, and now becoming as critical in India as well. So this is my personal example. I have an account with ICICI Bank, and they were supposed to deliver a parcel. And I waited for a couple of days, nothing happened. Waited for one more week, nothing happened. While I was going to my office, the branch was on its way, and I visited the branch and I asked about what's the status with that parcel. They said, sorry sir, we will deliver it within a week. So I waited for a week, nothing happened. I visited again. And they said, sorry sir, this is she's the one who is looking at, this time it will get done. And I said, this is the last time I wait. And I waited for another week and nothing happened. So I was really frustrated that almost 3 visits to the branch and nothing happened. So I tweeted. And this was my tweet. And it says, ICICI Bank's customer service sucks, 3 visits to the branch, and the problem is still there. Worse, they don't even care about calling back. Within a very short period of my tweet, I got a response from ICICI Bank, which said, sorry to hear that. Anything we can do to help you regain your confidence in ICICI Bank. Happy to have someone reach out to you. Direct message your contacts. And a friend of mine shared similar experience with other banks. And I got this message. I responded back, sharing my contact number as a private message, which is a direct message. I got a call from one of their customer care head. He apologized. He said that within 24 hours we'll get a mail with a step to resolution. And we got a mail. It was actually for my wife, so we got this mail. And interestingly, this incident had happened till this point of time, and we were sharing this in our workshop. And coincidentally, at the same time, a call came from ICICI Bank. My partner was there. He picked my call, and they asked for my residence address and phone number. And within an hour of that call, the branch manager of that branch, along with the guy who was looking into my case, were at home, and they delivered the parcel. And my wife, when I went back home, my wife shared that they were feeling so apologetic, as if they had murdered someone. So multiple visits to the branch, almost screaming at them, nothing happened. But one tweet got the branch manager home and solved the problem. Now I go to the branch, they see me standing for a few minutes, the branch manager would come and say, sorry sir. And we ended up doing a blog post as well. So that speaks about the power of Twitter. Now you may be asking certain questions about, was ICICI Bank there? How did they get to know about this? I must be having a very active Twitter account. That's why they saw it, or they looked into my case. And there are a lot of learnings from this, and I'll cover some of them later. But one of the things which makes Twitter very powerful is every tweet is publicly searchable. If you search for a keyword on Twitter or search.twitter.com, real time you get to see tweets. You can do even geography-wise search. So companies like ICICI Bank constantly search on real time for tweets which contains words like ICICI Bank and all. So listening is a very important component in the social media or digital space for online reputation, and Twitter is the most integral part of that listening today, because that's the most real time. So that's how they got to know, and then this conversation happened. So being able to search on real time tweets makes Twitter one of the reasons why Twitter is so powerful, right? Interestingly, my driver has been part of, has supported, in terms of some administrative stuff in the workshops. He would have sat for a few minutes in the workshop and he heard this example. And a few months back, he had a problem with Vodafone, his, SIM or mobile provider, and Vodafone deducted 80 rupees from his account, which he wasn't aware about. He tweeted it, and his problem also got solved. Then he had a problem with the Airtel ones, that problem also got solved. So I was very, very happy that I think if my driver can use Twitter to solve a real life problem, I think anyone can do that. Right? So that gives the power to user. Because earlier I was alone. I could not, shout beyond few people. But Twitter or social media makes everything public. So there is a much louder noise. There is a much higher chance of your voice being heard. Let's look into more examples, which makes Twitter, another reason which makes Twitter powerful. I got this message, which is called a mention from Gillette, which says, would you like to receive a sample of our latest product, Gillette Fusion? Please direct message your email details or details in case you're interested. So one of the other biggest advantages of Twitter is you can reach out to anyone directly. You just need to know their Twitter handle. From Sachin Tendulkar to Barack Obama to anyone in the world, if you know their Twitter handle, which is easier to find, you can reach out to them directly. So a lot of these opportunities, like Gillette would otherwise do sampling. A lot of companies do sampling. If you can identify your target audience and you can reach out to them directly through Twitter, I think it makes a lot of sense. Especially when you can reach out to influencers. And there are tools which allow you to identify influencers. So in your industry, that's what people do. Like through PR and media, they would find like influencers, they would go to them, they will ask them to review their product and then give them option to write about it. Or they want to do sampling. So Twitter makes that cycle so short, so simple, and much more effective. And the ability to reach out to anyone on real time is another big reason why Twitter is so powerful. Now, I'm sure many of you or most of you would have heard about this event called TED. TED has been very famous internationally, but a few years back it came to India, and now it has become very popular. And one of the major reasons why TED became so popular was because Twitter was used at all phases of the event. While they were promoting the event, their PR agency used Twitter. While the event was going on, they tweeted, live tweeted, and after that event happened, there was so much of content which got generated, they spread that content using Twitter. So for any event, a conference, or if you look at in life, actually everything which is spread over a little longer duration is an event. Like Anna Hazare is also like an event, right? Now elections is an event. So at all phases of the event, Twitter can be powerfully used. And one of the reasons why it makes so much sense is typically what happens is for any physical event, if there were 100,000 people who would have wanted to come, only a fraction of them would come because they wouldn't have time, money, or information at the right time. But they would want to come. So one is because online that bridges that gap. People who are not physically there, they can be almost remotely there. And after the event has happened, there is so much of content which gets generated live during that event in the form of pictures, messages, when a conference happens, presentations, all of that can be spread after the event as well. And of course, while the event is starting, the build-up to the event, Twitter can be used. So they wanted to get 800 registrations, all of that happened, and much more important than that is TED has become so popular today. This is one of my another personal examples, but a very interesting case study as well. My personal experience with them I will share here. So you would have heard about Hippo. So Hippo is like some kind of a competitor to Lay's, and they sell wafers or chips. What had happened was, so they have a very interesting positioning on online and even on their product packaging. If you read their bio on Twitter, let me read that. Their Twitter handle is Hello Me Hippo. Hippo say right after hunger. Hippo make munchies to fight hunger because world be better if no one hungry. Hippo say anything that not kill Hippo will only make Hippo better hunger fighter. Now there are two elements to it. One is you would notice that they're talking about hunger. So they say that anyone who is hungry is dissatisfied, and hippopotamus be having the biggest mouth is never hungry. If you eat hippo, you will never be hungry, you will be satisfied, you will be successful. Something like that. Everywhere the communication is that. And second is the way they have written this. If you notice, it is broken English, right? And that's how they speak, even on their product packaging. If you engage with them on Twitter, their handle is Hello Me Hippo. I'm sure you would experience that. Now, what had happened was we were talking about their case study in our workshop, and someone tweeted on Twitter mentioning Hippo, and they responded to us saying that, Katti, it's like, they're angry. Katti, you did not invited us. And we said, yeah, we would be happy to have you come to our workshop, share your case study, and why don't you write to us? They responded back again in a broken English, and they said, we'll write you a mail. And this was a mail I got. Hippo say, first of all, Hippo happy to know you like Hippo, but Hippo want to know if you also joining Hippo Army to fight hunger. Hippo also happy that you sharing Hippo effort with more big people in social media. So if you need any information or recipe, you can contact. He Hippo friend and also very helpful. Hippo say waiting to hear from you. Papa, bye bye now. Hippo, love Hippo. Now, I had this experience, and because it was so innovative, so unique, I had a recall. So this had happened, and one day I had gone to buy lace to a nearby shop, and for the first time I noticed hippo, and I picked hippos. And after that, wherever I have an opportunity, I pick hippo more than any other because it's supposed to be delicious. And this strong recall and kind of a connect which they did on Twitter influenced my decision. And that's how Twitter and just overall social media, if you're able to engage with your audience in a related, relevant context, and especially when emotions can be involved, you have no idea how much impact you can make in influencing your customers to make a decision towards your product. You need to think, how can you be creative? And I'm sure probably this is a language they use in office as well, and everywhere they use this language, right? Let's look into, so they then send a Hippo certified hunger fighter certificate along with all packets of their Hippo chips. I got that as well. So you would share. The whole idea is, for them having this packet doesn't cost maybe 150 rupees, but the kind of buzz they get out of people who are influencers is unimaginable. So there are n number of ways Twitter can be used in a creative way. Let's look into some more reasons for using Twitter. Especially in IT world, IT companies have been using, I would say, more than promotion, they have been using it for hiring. Like HCL, Infosys, TCS, Wipro, they have multiple Twitter accounts, and one of their Twitter accounts is for hiring. And I know many of them use this to do a lot of hiring, other than other social media channels as well. And a lot of companies, actually both small as well as large, have used Twitter for B2B lead generation as well. Like Ramco is one example of a company which has used Twitter to do marketing well. So, they would share about various updates, client wins to otherwise a white paper release. So there is so much you can do using Twitter to reach out to your potential customers. So, and there are so many other companies as well, like in project management space. There are other companies who have used Twitter to generate international business, and small companies from India use Twitter for B2B lead generation, right? Other, as I had shared earlier, one of the advantages of Twitter is you can reach out to anyone publicly. And interestingly, some of the most influential people today are active and live on Twitter. This is an example of Gartner Newsroom, which is a page on their section on their site, which lists all of their analysts on Twitter, their Twitter handle. And typically, for an IT company or someone who wants an influence of an analyst, or who wants to build a relationship or a rapport with analysts, being able to connect with these analysts means a lot. So, and all of them are accessible. They are active. For them, responding to a tweet is not that significant compared to responding to even a mail. So there's an opportunity to reach out, engage, and build a relationship with people you can't even imagine, or you never thought would be possible, and you have no idea what those relationships can turn into. Personally, I have got so much value out of Twitter. We've done hiring. We've got customers of B2C, B2B. I have got so much media coverage. I've got so many speaker invites, including a lot of international conferences, and many of them either got to know about me through Twitter or connected with me on Twitter, right? So I think, of course, we can spend an entire day on talking about various case studies of Twitter, but I believe these would have given you some inspiration and idea about how powerful can Twitter be. Let's now get into understanding basics of Twitter. Though they are basics, but they are really, really powerful. And for some of you, it may be no. This was one quote kind of I heard sometime I was speaking at a conference, which really differentiates or talk about how Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter are different. Though don't take it literally, but in true spirit it is correct. Facebook is for people you knew. LinkedIn is for people you know. Twitter is for people you want to know. So typically what happens, the behavior on Facebook is you will connect with people you knew earlier, your friends, your colleagues, previous batchmates, and all of them. LinkedIn, given its more professional current profession, you will be connecting with people you currently know. And Twitter is for people you want to know. That means typically you will not follow people when you will not search for someone on Twitter you know and then follow them. Of course that would happen, but your behavior on Twitter is likely to be you would follow someone based on the tweets they have, the account they have shared, and not because of the prior relationship. So your network, for example, I have around 5,000 friends or connects on Facebook, around 6,000 on LinkedIn, and similar on Twitter. While there is a very high overlap between Facebook and LinkedIn, the overlap between Twitter and Facebook or LinkedIn is very low. Because the kind of people who are connected with me on Twitter are not because of the ones who I had earlier relationship, but because they were interested in me, or even I have followed people not because of a prior relationship. Of course, there are many of them, but many more than them is based on my interest in them. So that way, your network on Twitter is going to be much different than Facebook or LinkedIn. And so would be the people who would be following you, right? I'm glad to see so many tweets happening. I think that's great that we're using Twitter while the session is going on. And pop-ups are telling, and now I'm able to read as well. Great, guys. So let's look into the basics as I shared. The fundamental feature of Twitter is called mention. And that's where most of the time is spent on Twitter. That means you want to speak to someone, you would know their Twitter handle or Twitter account, you will say @ so for example, my Twitter handle is Pradeep Chopra. You will say @ Pradeep Chopra and you want to write a message. And I can respond back, and then I will have your Twitter handle and I will write to you. I can write to multiple people. So it is like sending an email and you CC someone else if you want to speak to more than one people. And that's where most of your time on Twitter should go. And what happens is the real value of social media, and Twitter particularly, is in all-in engagement. A lot of course, celebrities typically won't spend time in engaging with people. Their Twitter timeline, if you go to, you would see their messages. But one good benchmark of someone being active and doing it right is when you look into their tweets and see what percentage of them are talking to someone versus all promotional or blast. So what makes sense is to engage, and if you are doing that, you may not have many followers, but you would have a relationship which is deep enough for you to get value out of Twitter. So right, that's a public message. The second is direct message, which is like a private message, right? You want to speak to someone and you want to share someone like a phone number or email ID. You will not do that publicly, you will do that privately. And the convention for that is D space Twitter handle and message. So you want to send, for example, I'm sending this message to Nana, D space Nana, and this is my message. Only she would get my message. But there is a prerequisite to be able to send a direct message. That is, the other person should be following you. And the default setting of Twitter is every direct message goes as an email. That's why they have this set requirement that if someone follows you, only then you can send a direct message to that person. Right? So if you want to have engage with people on privately, you will need to use DM or direct message. You can send direct message only to one person at a time. And third, which is very, very popular and even more powerful, is a hashtag. Now, hashtag, some of you may already know, but what happens is, for example, we have shared that #NEN India is a hashtag for this event. And let's take this real example. Though this is a virtual event, not a physical event, assuming people outside, those who are not attending this workshop or this session, wants to know what's happening here. What's the experience of the audience, what they are talking about. In an absence of something like hashtag, they would need to be either attending this webinar, or they would need to individually know all of you who are attending this webinar. They would need to connect with you. They would need to find out what your experience is, see all your tweets, and then see which are the ones relevant to this. Right? So assuming all of you are tweeting without a hashtag, you are tweeting about this webinar and about something else as well, and someone outside who is not attending this webinar wants to know what's happening, they would need to do all that work, which is practically not possible. Instead, we say that there is a hashtag called NEN India. And assuming all of you are tweeting and you're using #NEN India in your tweets, now a person outside who is not part of this webinar, what they only need to do is they need to know first that there is a hashtag called #NEN India, and they just need to search for it. Now what happens is when you search for a keyword, whether that is a hashtag or without hashtag, all tweets which have that comes at one go. So it's a consolidation of all tweets which come. And when you notice a tweet which has a hashtag, you will see #DVCamp in this case, which we use for our workshops, get highlighted. That means it is clickable. If you click off this, all tweets which have that consolidate. So that is the reason why hashtag is important, because when you are reading someone else's this tweet, you would see that that's highlighted. That would tell you that, oh, this is a keyword which is likely to be used by more people. Let me find out what this is about. And then you may start engaging in that keyword and the conversation grows. Right? So Anna Hazare event happened, hash Anna Hazare, and those were the hashtags which started. And momentum started building up. So hashtag can be very, very powerful for a product launch, a conference. You may not be physically there. You can still find out who all are there. You can engage with them. I have seen that happening event after event. Companies who are launching a new product will do decide about a hashtag. They will have enough people talk about this, and then a hashtag can be a trending topic, which means out of all the tweets or words being used in Twitter, in tweets, that particular hashtag or keyword is popular, which will be shown on twitter.com. So I wouldn't be, going through all the features, but I think these are the 3 most critical features of Twitter. And as I shared earlier, listening is the key to success on social media, especially on Twitter. And I'll ask you this question. Do you know which is the largest search engine? I'm sure all of you know, and that's Google. Do you know which is the second largest search engine? Can you guess which is the second largest search engine? Is it Yahoo, Microsoft, someone else, YouTube, or as the session is, it is actually Twitter? Because companies, which includes individuals and organizations, constantly search for keywords related to their names and organization brand products. The number of searches which happen on Twitter makes Twitter today the second largest search engine. And that's one of the reasons why Twitter is powerful. You can search for various kinds of phrases, all, exact phrase, any of the above, all of the above, based on location, and many more based on the sentiment of a tweet, whether it is a retweet, whether it has a link. And all of that you can do real time. Right? So like ICICI Bank, if they have regional managers, they would search for ICICI Bank based on the region, then they would see how the customer satisfaction level for ICICI Bank, which is reflected on Twitter. And for a lot of companies, public companies, the reputation is worth $1 billion. And there are enough examples where one tweet got few $1 million or few $100 million loss or gain in market capitalization. Why don't you do this? Some of you would already know this. Those who are new, go to search.twitter.com and search for #NEN India. And we see quickly so far what conversations have happened. Right? Let me also try to do, before we get onto the tool, we can do that on Twitter itself. And for those of you who are new to Twitter, make sure that you are you're doing a tweet where you have included #NEN India anywhere in tweet. That could be in the beginning, middle, or end. It need not be capital, it's not case sensitive. Right? So if you search for #NEN India, you would see a number of tweets. And I think if enough number of people tweet in a short period, a hashtag can become trending. That means many more people will get to see that. That means many more people will engage, and a conversation, blows up to a momentum. So did you notice that? There are a couple of tweets already happening, and that's real time. You would see tweets which are done a few seconds back as well. Yeah, so like if you see here, before this session there was only one tweet, 31 seconds before, 1 minute, wow. So many tweets have happened, right? And as you do more tweets, you will see your tweet as well as part of this. So hashtag can be, and outside people can engage with this on Twitter when they notice, and many of them will see #NEN India, will get to know there is NEN, they will get to know there is a webinar happening, they will get to know about someone, other people, and that's what the power of hashtag is, right? And you can search for hashtags or conversations in your domain. Just put a keyword without a hashtag. If you are in mobile space, search for mobile handset or SIM or whatever, and you will be amazed to see the kind of business you can get. We have seen people in our courses generating leads while in the workshop through Twitter because they could search for relevant tweets where people were asking for a query which they could serve. Right? Then there are a lot of tools about Twitter. I think Twitter has probably most number of tools than any other social media channel. And one of the tools is called Tweet Reach. Today there's a tweet about ₹5, the Modi's rally They are, I think I heard that they have charged 5 rupees for anyone to attend, and 8,000 people signed up. So that's trending, right? So in a tweet, a keyword like ₹5, if you search, you will be amazed to see the number of tweets which are happening, the rate at which they are happening. And today, it's an opportunity for others to use this keyword to promote something, right? If someone sells a product at ₹5, because say if a keyword is popular on Twitter, that means enough number of people are searching for it. That means if in your tweet you can include that keyword or a hashtag, your tweet can be seen by those many people, even if you don't have followers. So including popular keywords or including hashtags in your tweet, even if you don't have followers, can give you an opportunity to be seen by others. And the other side of that is if you search well, knowing the relevant keywords, you can generate so much business using Twitter even without having a follower, right? So search and hashtags or identifying relevant keywords, if you see, make sure, can ensure that even when you are not having too many followers, you can use Twitter, right? So then there are tools like TweetDeck. So once you are active on Twitter, you would start using one of the tools like TweetDeck or Hootsuite, and you would find yourself not using anything else because it allows you to automate a lot of your stuff. So for example, this is home, which means all the tweets of people I am following are my tweets. Me is where I am being mentioned. And this is my direct messages. There would be another column which will have #NEN India. So I can add as many columns in my TweetDeck, and I don't need to search. So let me show you this. So on my TweetDeck, on the last side, this is a #NEN India. I hope all of you can see that. So if you see here, I don't need to search again. Any tweet which you will do or anyone do which has #NEN in that will come here, right? So tools like TweetDeck saves a lot of time, automates your stuff, and make you much more productive in using Twitter. You don't need to say that, oh, I will need to search every half an hour. Look, this tweet has come, right, real time. So if you're not using tool, use it. You will find yourself using that ongoingly. Then there is something called cloud score. If you want to find out how someone is active on Twitter or how influential that is, out of 100, the cloud score is a measure of that. There can be a lot of campaigns around cloud. Like you can say anyone who has over 70 cloud score, if they tweet with a particular hashtag, we will give some sort of prize. A lot of companies have used. There's a cloud perks as well in US. If you have a particular cloud score, there are a lot of companies that gives you free coupons, vouchers. Cloud is very effective, can be very interesting, and creative ways to use to promote a product. Quickly, some do's and don'ts. As I shared, be a great listener and not just a speaker. Be relevant. You don't have your tweets to be promotional. So these are some Twitter etiquettes. Be creative and interesting versus being boring. Don't be formal, especially on Twitter. Be friendly. Twitter is a very, very collaborative and supportive structure. Be consistent. Stay active. Once you are not active, you will see your cloud score fall. Be responsive and converse versus be indifferent. Don't be a celebrity. Of course, for them, they don't care about responding. At least most of them. Some of them still do it very well. And most importantly, credible. Rather than talking generically, can you share interesting stuff? Can you be more precise? Can you be specific? Can you share facts? As an organization, as an individual, you will build your credibility, right? And one of the things is when you're tweeting, especially when you're doing as an organization, this is a kind of a guideline you can follow. In your tweets, roughly 70% of your tweets, you should not digress too much from your core area. Like in our case, 70% of our tweets would be related to digital marketing, which includes social media. 20% can be related area. It could be about marketing in general. 10% can be casual. It could be some completely fun. So typically 70-20-10, 60-20-20. If you follow that, you would see people finding yourself or organization interesting. That's how, and it's not like a formula but a guideline. If you follow it, you will find you producing results. One question you may have is, how to gain followers. And as I shared, there are many ways. One, I'll share this personal example. Can you be creative? Like we were looking at revamping our logo, and we did this tweet, which is we are looking at revamping our logo. We are not #Airtel and have a budget of 0.0003 crore. Who would like to be our agency? So at that point of time, Airtel had done their whole brand revamp, and they had spent 300 crores. So #Airtel was a popular keyword. So included that in that and made it creative and interesting enough. A lot of retweets happened, a lot of people followed, and we actually got a lot of people who pitched for becoming our agency to do the logo revamp at 3,000 rupees. It was a price we had put, right? And another, this is, people ask, how should we get followers? And a close friend called Netra, she's one of the first few people on Twitter from India. She's the one who tweeted for 64 hours at stretch during Mumbai blast. Her Twitter handle is @Netra. She said once that when people ask her, why should we tweet when we don't have followers? And her response was, tweet pe tweet, karega retweet ke chinta mat kar. Really, initially you feel that there is a very high entry barrier. I don't have followers, why should you tweet? And actually it's the other way around. If you're not tweeting, you will not get followers. So initially, don't worry about getting followers before you start tweeting. You tweet and just tweet and be relevant as I share, follow those guidelines. I'll be happy to share this presentation with you, and all those points would remain valid and relevant to you. You can use it. Right? Ultimately, the best, the true victory on social media, especially on Twitter, is like of Zappos. Zappos is a company which sells, initially used to sell shoes and now a lot of stuff. It's acquired by Amazon, and they have two fundamental values. One is they are very, very customers through. I have heard where people have called them for a product-related query, and the customer support guy ended up solving a person's personal life problem for 4 hours on the phone. So they're very customer pro, and they're very, very active on Twitter, very authentic. They would share about anything and everything on Twitter. And by using that, they're able to build their positioning, which is like talking to Zappos is like talking to a friend who happens to sell shoes. And that is the true victory. Can you make your customers become your friend? And I think among social media, Twitter is the best opportunity to achieve that. And if you are able to achieve that, it's like, friend to jo bhi bolega karega. So if you are using Twitter well, this is the level you can achieve. And if you have achieved that level, I think then anything you want to sell, it's sold. Right? Thanks for listening. We have time for Q&A. I think we have 15 minutes. If you want to reach to me on Twitter, as I share, my Twitter handle is Pradeep Choka. If you want to reach to or email, my email ID is pradeep@digitalvidya.com. In case you are interested in learning social media deeper, we would be glad and pleasure to have you be part of our course. And we do workshops across India. But if you are outside the, any of the Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore city, and you want to learn online, we run a very interesting instructor-led online course on social media marketing. It's starting August 10th. And I was speaking with NEN, and I said we would be happy to offer something which is exclusive. We have never offered for an entrepreneurial community. So if you want to register and participate in this social media course, you will get exclusive 50% off when you use this code NEN50. This course is starting on August 10th, and it's a one-month-long course. You would be able to learn social media in depth, right? So with this, I would be happy to take any questions about this session or anything in Twitter in general or anything else you may want to know about Twitter. Right? So I hope we have 15 minutes, and we can definitely use all of that time for Q&A.
Sure, Pradeep. Our first question is from Anuj Chauhan. He asks, can you compare Twitter marketing cost compared to conventional marketing?
Okay, so I think, a great question. And now I think that's not just applicable to Twitter, it could be applicable to anything within digital. And I would say it begins with the objective. For example, I'll share one, there is no formula, but I can share some examples. And that again, a very interesting example of Hippo. Now, Hippo wanted to solve their inventory problem, especially in large FMCG business. Inventory is a major issue. As part of the sales, having enough people keeping your stock and having the stock available at the places where people want is critical. What they had done was they used Twitter, and they said, if you want hippos, and if you won't find hippos available in your location, you can tweet about it, and we promise that within 24 hours we would deliver hippo in your location. And interestingly, within 24 hours across India, people tweeted and they solved their inventory problem within 24 hours. And imagine what they got. One is, of course, the inventory problem got solved, which otherwise would be very, very expensive when you look at conventional marketing. Second is the kind of buzz it created. So I think the value of Twitter is, of course, a function of to the degree you are able to spread word. For a consumer brand, it is going to be a volume game. For a B2B or a services business, it's going to be the degree of relationships. And it's going to be difficult. But for e-commerce companies, it's very measurable in the sense like Dell example, if you look at. Dell does all kinds of marketing. Of course, digital is their focus. They've been able to measure how many transactions happen because they either use the code in their tweets or the link was able to track. So if you are into e-commerce, you are tweeting with the links, you'll be able to measure how much ROI you're getting. So I think if you use it well, it can be far more profitable compared to conventional. And I would say it's not just about conventional versus Twitter or online. It is also a function of can you use Twitter as an integrated part of your overall marketing. Especially for large brands, it's about can you use Twitter as part of the overall plan. And there are many more examples. Would love to share, if we have time, I think. Would want to take a little more questions. But Amit, I hope it gives you a sense of what you were looking at.
Our next question is from Mr. Vijay. Yeah, our next question is from Mr. Vijay. And he says, how can Twitter be used as an alternate to cold calls or cold emails?
Okay, so interesting question, Vijay. Now, cold calls or cold mails. Yeah. So I think it's very much doable in the sense, as I shared earlier, the best part about Twitter is you can reach to anyone, right? Now, if your audience is active on Twitter, say they are not active on Twitter, it doesn't make sense. But if your audience is active on Twitter, you would be able to find a Twitter handle. And they may not be available on phone. They may not be able to pick your email, especially when they're active on Twitter. If you can reach out to them in an interesting way, it offers much bigger advantage. So let me share it. So there is a concept of list. For example, if your audience is IT influencers, if you want to reach out to them, technology, geeks, tech geeks, there is a concept of a list. List is fundamentally a group of people on Twitter combined together based on some common characteristics. It could be a subject matter expertise. So if you go to sites like listorious.com, you will find lists of lists. That means there are people who are on Twitter and there is a list being created of all those people who share that common interest. So one is, the first step is to be able to identify, like when you do a cold call, the first step is to be able to identify the phone numbers and the people and the email IDs so that you can reach out to them. That is a way to be able to identify. Or if you search, there are tools which allow you to search on bio. Like bio is a description of a profile. You can search for a particular keyword used in a bio. For example, if you want to search for someone on Twitter who is a chief marketing officer, you can do that. If you search for chief marketing officer, you can get people who have used that word in their Twitter bio. So those are ways to first identify those people. Right? The second part is, of course, it's like when you are on a call or a mail, what communication you have. If you are just spamming them with a part, it's not going to work. Unless you are doing something like, Gillette is doing a sampling of free gift. But I think fundamentally, can you reach out to them in some interesting way? It could be, sharing a white paper, or maybe, inviting them for a webinar if you are doing, or something which is relevant to your brand, such that they feel that, your message was useful for them. But I think overall process-wise, it can work even better than a cold call or email. I have shared with you the potential steps to do that. I hope it serves your purpose.
Our next question is from Santosh. He asks if directly mentioning at someone and promoting our services or offers, does this make the promotion a violation? Please tell more about the promotions on Twitter and the violations.
Yes. So I think Gautam has confirmed that YouTube is the second largest search engine. Anyways, so I think Twitter has a lot of rules in terms of what level of automation you can do. There are tools which allows you to mention people as well. So if you are doing too much of spam, Twitter can discontinue or give a warning to your account. So if, for example, within a very short period, and it's also a function of how credible your account in terms of how many followers you have and all of that. So if you are able to, if you're spamming, doing too much of same message as a marketing message, you are liable to lose your Twitter handle. So that's one thing is you should not be doing that. So you should be creative. And as I shared, what is a spam is a function of the experience the other person is going to get. If you are an FMCG company like Gillette, you're reaching out to people and saying that, hey, would you want to try our product? Some people may feel as they may find that as a spam, but many of them may find that, wow, I'm getting a free product. So depending upon which vertical you are in, who your target audience is, and for many very, very senior people, it could be, useless. So knowing your target audience, knowing your product and service, and coming up with something which, the litmus test is the person who receives your tweet, what are they saying to themselves? Are they saying that, hey, another spam, or they are saying, hey, thanks? So be in the world of the person who is receiving your message and see if they can get an experience, hey, thank you for sharing this tweet. And I think if you can achieve that, you may be promoting and the other person don't get the promotion experience and you get the value you want as the promotion. I think that's a way to look into.
Our next question is from Jitesh. He says, if I organize events, how can I shortlist half key hashtags and one or two key hashtags and concentrate the trend? So can you share a tip on how to create hashtags for a particular event?
Okay. So one is, if you want to create a hashtag for your event, like in our workshops we use BVCamp, right? So you don't need to create it, you just need to define it. So hashtag is not owned by anyone. As many people use hashtag, to the same degree it's useful. If people are not using it, whether you have that hashtag or not is same. So you don't need to do anything technical to create a hashtag. No one owns a hashtag. So what is important is some guidelines. It should be short. It should be easy to pronounce, and it should be unique. Don't use generic words as hashtag because others would already be using that. And when you search with or without hashtag, the results are same. So if you choose a generic word as hashtag, your hashtag would get lost in other tweets. So that's what you should be doing if your question is how to create a hashtag. Now other part is how to leverage hashtag. So that is to be able to search for keywords. So in your industry, look at the popular keywords, like in our case, for example, social media. And you look into some of the tweets, you go through maybe 50 tweets. In those 50 tweets, you will be able to see some of the hashtags being used, and that will tell you, oh, these are the popular hashtags. And there is a site called hashtags.org, I think. But best way to look into the hashtags is that. Other thing is you go to twitter.com. On the home page, you will see on the left side some of the current affairs. And that's a great opportunity. And I think Amul is the best company to learn from. Like they will connect their butter with cricket to Anna Hazare to Narendra Modi to politics to Bollywood. If you know that ₹5 is a popular keyword, and with or without hashtag, it's still equally powerful. If you can include ₹5 in your tweet and still making it relevant to your brand, you are likely to ride on the popularity of ₹5 today. And that may be for a few hours, that may be for 2 days. So going to twitter.com, identifying current affairs in terms of popular or trending keywords which include hashtag and including those in your tweets, yet still connected, relevant to your brand, can give you a leverage of a popular hashtag, which you don't own. I hope both sides were answered.
Okay, our next question is from Ashay. He says, how can we make a promotion viral on Twitter? Will a 70-20-10 approach work?
Okay, so one is, whatever content you are doing, don't go to extremes. That was the purpose of 70-20-10, right? That does not mean that your post will become viral, but that will make sure that you are consistent, you are relevant, and people don't see you, you know, a different personality. Best is to be yourself. But I have seen a lot of companies going in extreme. Either they are too formal, or they are going too personal. You know, they have started to use news, and then people, you know, treat their Twitter handle like that. So 70-20-10 is not the solution to be viral. And I think now something can go viral on Twitter, or Twitter can be used to make something else, some other campaign viral. Because Twitter, the information spreads so fast. And the principles of virality remains the same. Twitter can be a great amplifier, and that is, why something becomes viral. If you understand, viral is something which spreads on its own, right? So that means if someone receives your tweet, is there a reason for them to retweet it? Can you ensure that? So like a lot of contests happen, right? So where there is an incentive for people to retweet. So that is, I have seen examples where something has become viral in a very short period on Twitter. So it need not be a monetary incentive. There could be other incentives, but the whole point is, when someone receives your tweet, they should, they would want to retweet it. That's what you need to ensure. And of course, you need to have enough of critical mass you first reach out to. One of the mistakes people do when they think of virality, they think that if something is viral, it will become automatically. If there is a Facebook application which has to go viral, they just launch it and it will go. And what is really important is to be able to have enough critical mass. If that is not achieved, even if you have great concept, it will not become viral. Yeah, thanks, Kamlesh. I got that Twitter is not the second largest search engine. It's YouTube. I think they are probably going together. But the point was that Twitter is at that level in terms of search. Thanks, Phil. Yeah, I hope it answers your question.
Yeah.
On the virality.
Yes, our next question, we are, because of crunch of time we'll go through just two more questions. Our first question is from Nupur, and she says, I want to know whether and how to decide the right timing to tweet in a day.
Okay, great question, Nupur. I think, again, it's a function of your target audience. If you're targeting students, I think during the break times, lunch time probably, and early morning and late evening is the best time. If you're and weekends is again great. If you're targeting professionals, then working time is best. And I think that's how the behavior is. And also, one difference between Facebook and Twitter is, when people are going home, they don't use Facebook because Facebook still is not that mobile friendly, but they use Twitter. So while going to home as well, because it's mobile friendly, especially for people who are not driving, Twitter is one activity they do. And I think that trend on mobile in terms of using Twitter while going home is going to increase, especially in locations where people don't use their own transport to drive. I think, so you need to think about your audience, when they are likely to be using Twitter, and based on that, you should align your content strategy. And the best part is you can schedule all your tweets. And you should do that. So a tweet deck allows you to schedule for as much period you want to schedule. So entire week you can schedule your tweets, right?
Okay, our next question is from Shivranjan, and he says, is there any tool to identify Twitter influencers in a particular domain?
Okay, so one is, as I shared, sites like listorious.com is a way to do that. So if you go to listorious.com, it has a list of lists. Typically, it will give you the popular list, and the people in those lists would be the influencers. Second is, I think I was trying it today. For some reason, it was not working. There is a tool by HubSpot called Grader, grader.twitter.com. Based on the location, it gives you a ranking of the people who are influencer on Twitter based on the cloud score and otherwise. So actually, if you search Twitter influencer, then cloud itself, so based on cloud score. So Twitter influencer score and like that, if you search, there could be more tools. Grader used to be one, Listorious is another. So those are the ways, and different geographies. Some of them are geography specific. Or you can go to socialbakers.com, which lists active brands wise if you want to reach out to. May not be individual, but I think that will have individuals as well. So active people who are on Twitter on a location base are also available. So I think you use Google, I think you should be able to, depending upon what you are looking at, are you looking at based on location, based on subject matter, you should be able to find out. And I've shared some of these possibilities.
Is by Shivashri Charan, and he says how Twitter can be used as a marketing tool for entrepreneurs and startups without spending much.
Yeah, so I think the best way is, of course, Twitter. So far, the advertisement on Twitter is very, very expensive. So even large brands, very few of them would have used Twitter advertising. And Twitter is one of, I would say that's, in that sense, even other brands are also not going to be advertising. It gives a much more level playing field compared to, for example, Facebook. Created to be specific and identify influencers, build relationship with them. I think there are a lot of examples of startups be able to use Twitter for a lot of lead generation. And I think, and of course, another thing is to be able to search well. Can you search for relevant keywords? I have seen a lot of companies does a lot of business, especially in the web designing or similar technology, mobile application development. Because what happens is typically, at least mid-sized company, when they are looking at a vendor, many of them actively search for them or tweet about. So, for example, when we were looking at redesigning or designing a new logo for my other business, we tweeted, and we got 10 queries which happened, and one we selected. And that happened on Twitter. So similarly, you need to think who your audience is, what are the likely keywords they would be using. And you may be surprised to see there are leads out there already.
All right, Pradeep, so that was the last question for the day. Thank you so much for a very interesting session, and thank you to all our attendees. We are glad that the questions kept coming in, but due to lack of time, we are unable to answer all of them. Please do send in your feedback and suggestions to us at eclub@nenglobal.org, and if you found the session interesting, feel free to blog, post, or tweet about it. The recorded version of the webinar will be available on our website, YouTube channel by the end of this week. NEN Entrepreneur Support and Training is conducting one-day workshop for entrepreneurs on raising funds in Indore on July 27th. The details are up on nenonline.tv. Also join us for our next webinar on how to increase your sales by combining social media with great content by Kapil Nakra, co-founder of 42 Inception and Digital Vidya, on July 24th at 3 p.m. Thank you everyone, and have a nice evening.
Thanks, Neha. Thank you, everyone. And feel free to ask those questions on Twitter. I would be happy to answer that as well, right? So thanks a ton. I hope you enjoyed it. I do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.